Started
This
right now.
conference will now be recorded.
Okay, then I'll call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Economic and Community Development Commission on February 8th, 2022. Thank you everyone for attending tonight. First order of business is to approve the minutes that were distributed from the January 11th meeting. So I need a motion and a second for that, please.
I'll make a
I'll make a
motion.
motion to approve those minutes.
Okay, I heard Frank, and who was the second?
I'll second. Jen.
Is that Jen? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay.
Okay, so that passes. Mary, would you like to give the update on economic development?
Sure. Can you hear me now? Okay, I took my mic off. All right. Good evening, everyone. So the mayor and I had a conference call with the Army Corps last week to discuss vacating the property of anyone else that's on it, so that the conveyance can move forward, tentatively scheduled for March 31st. So we'll be reaching out to Burns Construction. We're working with the Connecticut Air and Space Museum to move their items. So everything has to be cleared of the property for the conveyance. They can have other agreements that might come through after that, but for the conveyance, it has to be cleared. Center School, the two finalists, Romano Brothers and Spirit Investors Kalanagi, presented to the town council on Thursday, the 27th of January. The subcommittee will be announcing a date where they'll make a recommendation to the town council. So when that date, is decided upon, it will be a public meeting. Parkway Plaza, that's where the Starbucks is being built. Right now, the attorneys are working on the town is abandoning a portion of the property where the development's going to be. And they're drafting into the deed to include a small easement for the town, which the town previously, when the roads were there, was able to have an easement to get to the water, and they want to be able to retain that water access. It's a small area, but we're waiting to indicate exactly where the easement will be, because we want them to be able to do their site, their whole plans for the development. New businesses, I don't know if you read, I know, Jim, you commented on the 14.2 acres at the Stratford industrial parcel, 775 and 975 on Lordship Boulevard. It's sold for $10.6 million, and it will be used for warehouse / distribution. That location has already been approved for, I believe, 160,000 square foot building. I don't know if you saw in the paper, Rapasi Motorworks. I had spoken to this gentleman quite some time ago, and he is located on Stratford Avenue, and specifically didn't give his address because I'm not sure that he wants anyone to know exactly where he's located, but he is a specialist for Carrara, is that how you pronounce it? Carrera. GT Porsches, specifically that kind, and he deals nationwide. It's kind of a fun business. And Brian, do you know him at all, or do you know of him?
We've worked with him. He's
okay.
On the mechanical side. We've done some paint work together. So.
Okay, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to have another car specialist in the area. And then, as we all know, the Economic and Community Development Commission is requesting that the Stratford Zoning Commission adopt a text amendment to implement a temporary moratorium on self-storage facilities. That meeting will be virtual because at the time when the meeting was scheduled, Jay said that the numbers were up. So they had to schedule them ahead of time. So it will be virtual. and it will be on February 23rd at 7 p.m. So Jim said he can speak on behalf of the Economic Development Commission that evening. And, we will talk to the fact that the, putting a limit on storage facilities is very much in line with the plan of conservation and development, where you're looking for economic vitality, employees coming in, and businesses that can grow and be part of the community. Um, and then the Economic Development Commission, we will forward to you the invite that Karen Doyle made up. We are having our commercial realtors breakfast at Two Roads at 8 a.m. on February 24th. And number one, Two Roads was kind enough to donate the room to us. And number two, Milford Bank will be a sponsor for the event. We had a ribbon cutting at Rotary Ski Shop at their new location. They did a really nice job on the front of it. They've got like an old-fashioned gondola in the front, and that was held on the 2nd of February. And then we have an upcoming ribbon cutting at Kempo Karate. They're located at 2505 Main Street, and that'll be on the 3rd of March at 11 o'clock. And you will be seeing the invite coming out shortly. And that's it for now. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or go into further detail with any of the subjects that I spoke about.
Hey, Mary, I have a couple questions. One is with the Army engine plant, the conveyance on 331, what actually then happens if that, is that a pretty firm date that that's going to happen on 331?
Well, it's the Army, and even when we were speaking to this gentleman, he said right now that is what they're looking at. The good news is that it's an agreed upon date by both the Army and Point Stratford Renewal. So, they both have their work to do on either side to prepare for it. Right now, that's what he's perceiving that the closing date will be. And at that point, Point Stratford Renewal takes over ownership, and then the work can begin. We're already starting to do work on looking at the sewers and the water pumps and all the other issues, infrastructure issues that are entailed with such a large piece of property. But there can be no demolition of buildings until the closing occurs.
And you think after the closing occurs that the construction can start shortly after?
Everything can start in earnest. And there's already a lot being done, as I've said in my other reports, where we are working regularly. Engineering we've got the fire marshal involved with the water suppression system. So we're already working in tandem with all with everyone. We're working with BL Industries. They are the chosen engineering firm for Point Stratford Renewal. So we're just working at, in preparation for all of this.
And then my other question on the Parkway Plaza, how many phases are there of that project? I know Starbucks is phase 1, and then you're talking about the easement.
The easement isn't a phase. It's just going to be part of the deed so that it's there on record. And I've spoken with Steve Warner, their property manager, and they're going to be meeting with me in the near future to talk about the next phase, where they hope to have maybe a boutique hotel and significant square footage for retail space. So that'll all move forward, and everything was held up by COVID. And as you know, the owners also own Lord Chamberlain, and it was not COVID was not easy for them. So we're looking forward to, I don't know if there'll be a phase 3. I don't know if phase 2 is going to be the rest of it, I haven't sat down with Steve to get into the specifics of that.
Okay. Does anyone else have questions on Mary's report? Okay, so, and with the breakfast, Mary, so that's on February 24th at 8 a.m. at Two Roads. Is the invite list are the invitations out? Have you received any feedback yet?
Karen Sportini will be sending the invites out tomorrow. We were putting together making sure we had our full realtor list and our full list of who we wanted invited. I'm hoping for we're hoping for a good turnout like we've had in the past. I think we've gotten in the past maybe about 30 realtors, which Randy has always said is a really good count. So we're hoping to get close to that as well. And our plan is to have it less of a presentation, although we're going to start with our PowerPoint of our first economic development video, and then just kind of update the brokers on the latest of, what's happening in Stratford, our tax abatement and a few other issues. But then we really want to open up the floor to any questions they have and kind of have a back and forth. We will invite, our buildings department, our planning and zoning, and I've just asked them to be ready to speak if anyone has. They're well informed. They know what they're doing. They don't have to plan anything in advance. If they get a question on something in their area, they'll just get up and answer it. And it should be about an hour. We're looking forward to kind of a little bit of a more informal program.
It basically, I won't be there, obviously, but
I know.
So we have it under control as to how it's all going to go, the meeting, and it's who's going to run it and so on, right?
Yeah. So I think I'll start, and we'll allow Colin or whomever from Two Roads, if they'd like to say a few words, they're more than welcome to talk about what you're doing. And Mark Rotadoria from Milford Bank, he'll say a few words as a sponsor. And then I will do a presentation. We'll have the mayor speak, and then we'll have, like I said, the departments that need to be, if they need to answer questions, they'll be there to answer questions.
All right, sounds good. Colin,
Mary, I'll probably speak to Brad about being there at 8 a.m. to have some opening remarks from him. I think would be good.
That'd be great. Yeah, because you guys were, it's at your venue. If you have anything you want to talk about.
Okay, so that's good. So next on the agenda then, are there any other questions before we move on? Comments? Okay. You touched on the storage facility moratorium process. Do we want to go into any more detail here, Mary, or are we?
I don't know if anybody had any questions. I mean, it's, I've talked through it with both Susmitha. It will go before planning. We don't need to present to them. I said to Susmitha, it's very clearly fits in with the plan of conservation and development, and she will speak to that. I believe the meeting is the 15th. I think it's next Tuesday. And as with the live music or live entertainment, the planning commission will either it doesn't matter to zoning. However, they will either vote that they approve of it moving forward, or they won't. So zoning will still have to vote on it.
Oh, so planning is addressing this issue one way or the other?
Planning will speak to it, yes.
Okay. Will you let me know before our meeting what their position was, so we know?
Oh, absolutely. We will let you know the next day, after the meeting, how they, what the conversation was.
And I sent you that email. We haven't really spoken about it, but with the warehouses, is that sort of duplicative to, I mean, sort of strengthen our argument because that doesn't really bring in employees or tax base to the town of Stratford.
Well, no, that is not going to be a storage facility. That will be a warehouse or distribution, which is better than a storage facility.
Okay, those
You
have
know,
employees.
they'll have employees. It's like an Amazon. You get personal property. You do get a pretty good amount of personal property at some of these distribution centers because the machinery is not exactly cheap. So you get that in taxes, and then you get the employees coming in and out of the building and spending money in the town. So it's better than a storage facility. And as Jay Habansky pointed out to us, and I think I mentioned this last month, you know, a storage facility needs very few parking spaces. So the building is abnormally large for the plot of land. And if they leave, adaptive reuse is extremely difficult because you don't have enough parking now for whatever it is that you're putting in that building. So it's just, it's good timing for us to kind of reevaluate it and look at what we have.
Okay. Is there any other comment from the commission, the members for that issue before we have this meeting?
Greg Can?
Greg?
Yes, it's a new topic for Mary. Lordship Boulevard, recently there's a railroad through there and the current owner abandoning it down. I couldn't quite find railroad was involved in and if she could give some clarity to that and also the recent purchase. Well, you guys just mentioned the warehouses on Lordship, so that's good.
So Greg, you skipped a little bit on the railroad. I didn't quite hear what you were. If you could repeat that, it skipped a bit.
Apologies. To clarify the location of the railroad or the property that was recently abandoned or in the process of, and how it may impact.
I don't, it's in the back of multiple different businesses. I can't specifically tell you without the map, but it was abandoned and we decided to take it because there was there was overdue taxes on it. So we basically are going to take over the property. And there is talk by some businesses that would like to see the railroad reactivated. And so they would like to see so that they can take advantage of it. And there's a lot of businesses. It goes right by, I think it's by two roads. It's behind AMAC and Nuova Pasta and all of those businesses along there. I mean, it's in really bad shape. It's overgrown in a lot of areas.
No, but the opportunity there is very interesting. Yes.
Yeah, we are talking to businesses that are interested in doing that. That's why we started this process, at least.
Okay. Greg, are you done with those questions?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, just because you were cutting in and out a little bit, just wanted to make sure you were, okay.
Right.
So that brings us to the a budget review. Year to date, we've had 6,000 and change in expenses, leaving us available budget of approximately 19,000 between now and July 1. Mary, do you want to touch on that issue at all?
I can speak to the fact that when we spoke last month, we talked about putting the funding into marketing efforts that we discussed, and Karen Doyle can go a little bit more into it. And, we can, celebrate events. I wanted to talk about that affects the budget, but I don't know that we want to skip around. It's up to you, Jim. With our
Well-
marketing, go ahead.
Why don't we start with the marketing that we were talking about, and then we'll talk about Celebrate, and unless you have a round budget number for the Celebrate event, and then we can get into that.
No, we can wait on the Celebrate. So I will start and then I'll let Karen Doyle take on because she's been doing the work on it with Colin. So we did reach out to Marianne Vlahek to be a part of the subcommittee. Looking at Marianne, especially because we talked about really showcasing our historic sites. Marianne has a wealth of knowledge with that. So having Marianne to help us with that information and Colin's marketing and Karen Doyle's marketing experience, it's a good combination. So I'm going to let Karen Doyle take over now in terms of just kind of what you and Colin have been working on so far.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Colin, feel free to jump in whenever you want. So after last month's meeting, we reached out to 3 graphic designers and had them bid it out. Estimates came in kind of all over the place, but luckily the designer who Colin and I are leaning towards the most happens to be the least expensive. So we're thinking if we go with this route, we're probably going to be looking at a budget between $1,500 and $2,000 to roll the program out, hopefully early spring, late March, early April. And Kara, I don't know, or Mary, if you can share my screen, but I have an example of the map that we're thinking of. And if the screen share doesn't work, I do have a hard copy, just to give you guys some sort of an idea as our inspiration.
I'm clicking it, Kara, and it's not. Let me see. Give me one more sec.
Okay.
And you could tell me where I need to go if you want me to try to share.
I don't know if you guys can see it. It looks like it's working on my end.
No.
No.
This is it.
Okay. So here it is. I know it's kind of hard to see. And I can email you guys the digital version of it, but this is kind of what we're thinking. So a map of Stratford, and I'll try to zoom in on this Michigan.
We can't see it, Karen.
You can't see this at all?
I see the gallery of our people. I don't. Do you guys see the screen sharing? Anyone else?
No, there's
She's
not
just showing it
screen sharing.
on her screen, on her camera.
She's just showing it in her little where she is. I'm trying to do a screen share.
Oh, you're not. I don't even see Karen because she's not one of the people showing up here. Hold on.
Oh, gotcha.
So it might be. Mary, are you the main organizer?
I am. Colin, I'm going down to share and it's crossed off and I'm hitting share your screen and then I'm going choose what to share and should I be set? It says entire screen window or Chrome tab.
So that would be if you have it. I don't. So Karen would have to email it to you. But try hitting the setting tab at the top and see if there's any setting to let others present.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We should have planned this ahead of time.
Oh, good.
So that we would. Okay, so settings, and then what did you say?
Is there any share settings there?
I can say, well, I am sharing, so I can say stop sharing, but that isn't going to help.
I should be. I'm trying to do it too, Mayor. I'm on as a co-organizer.
If we can't figure it out, I'm happy to email a PDF of our inspiration as soon as we get off this meeting.
Okay.
But it's kind of a cartoony thing, which is great because that was the inspiration from the get-go. Up in the room 213 at Town Hall where we typically meet, there's an example of a map that we produced years and years ago, and the company is out of business. But we kind of used that as our benchmark and kind of took a little bit more of a modern twist towards it. So it's fun, it's modern looking, the designer is excited about it. So from this point, I think we just need the green light to see whether or not this is where we want to spend our money. And to echo what we talked about last week, we would do an actual hard copy print run. The budget that I mentioned earlier, $1,500 to $2,000, does not include the actual print run. That's something that I would have to quote out based off of the design. So we would have a print run with a QR code on the map directing people to the website that we're going to create. And the way that it'll essentially work is you see the website, you click on it, up comes a map of Stratford with illustrations of all the different places that we want to highlight, a picture of the Perry House, a picture of the lighthouse. And when you hover over that picture, it brings you directly to the existing website that the town has created. So that's kind of our methodology with that.
So ultimately, this is a internet-based map that people would go to a website and then it would be interactive, kind of. Is that right?
Yes.
Colin, jump in if you want to add anything.
No, it's both, right? And then that's where the beauty has worked, at least for what I've seen, is that having a physical that also directs to digital. It lets people come at it from different angles. So if we're distributing it at the train station, for example, people can grab it, they carry it with them, they can scan it to do the interactive piece that Karen mentioned. So it's a great way to give to each business as well throughout Stratford, so that it gets in consumers' hands. That's stage one, right? Distribution of that physical. Then stage two is getting them to do the QR code to really scan and further that experience.
Yeah, I mean, I love the concept of it. Do we have any idea of what the cost would be from beginning to end? So the graphic design costs, we'll call that phase one. Phase two would then be the print draft that you were talking about, Karen, and then would phase three be the web-based creation?
I think that the actual hard copy of the map, the print run, will kind of run in conjunction with the digital design. So basically, when the maps are ready to be sent out, that's when the website will be ready. So they'll kind of run parallel with each other.
Okay.
So what you don't want to happen is you don't want to send a map with a QR code linking to nowhere, because that's got to be finalized before that print run can actually happen.
Right. So is there any projection as to like what, once we get through this $1,500 to $2,000 phase, what it will take to then complete the project after that?
The $1,500 to $2,000 will cover the cost for the design of the hard copy of the map and the design of the actual website. From there, I need to quote out quantities. That's something that Mary and Karen and I can discuss. How many do we want to print? Do we want to do 1,000? Do we want to do 2,000? But I don't think that that's going to be that hefty. Digital print is not that expensive. And then we kind of just need to think about the design. Do we want it to be an actual map, like a traditional map that you fold up? Something that's just a bifold, something that's just a simple postcard. And these are things that maybe Colin, Marianne, and I can all kind of discuss and weigh in on.
Okay,
Sure.
so I guess I just wanted to make sure that we weren't talking about, another huge budget item after that we have to make sure we would be aware of down the line. I mean, even if it's a couple $1,000s, I think, this project is well worth the effort. And I really
Right.
love, Karen and Colin. I mean, you guys putting a lot of passion and energy into it. I think it's fantastic. And so basically what do we need to vote tonight on giving, is there a vote we need to take tonight, Mary, or are we just waiting to finalize the decision with the graphic designer?
I think any vote we would make would be next month. Are you okay with that, Karen and Colin? Because I feel like it wouldn't be, I mean, would we be holding things up if we don't vote yet?
No, I don't think so. I don't think the designer needs too much time to put this together. What I can do after the meeting is I'll send you the example of the maps that we're using as our inspiration. And then between now and then, maybe Colin, Marianne, and I can chat about what we think the actual physical map should look like. And Mary, Karen Sportini, and I can talk about quantities and how we want to work on the distribution.
We'd like to have a meeting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
From a timeline perspective, if we do wait until March to vote, would we be able to complete basically this project by the end of June? So it's in this year's budget?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
The other thing we talked about last month, if you remember, was doing another short video that would coincide with this on the historic, and that is probably going to be what, 3,500 to 5,000 about 5,000 for another video. And we did talk about that. To work in conjunction with all of everything else that we're doing, with the hopes that the video could come out in the spring. I think that was our goal.
Well, right, the video would help promote this effort,
Mhm.
right? Make
Right.
people aware that the maps are there, how you get on there. It all goes together. So, again, the idea is to focus on mostly nonprofits and museums and businesses in Stratford.
Well, we talked about, jump in, ladies. Karen and I had a conversation with Mary Ann, asking if she'd be willing to work with us. And, she pointed out that the historic aspects of Stratford are really rich, and there's a lot to it. And to bring in nonprofits, it kind of might mix it up because it's two separate things. I think where we brought up nonprofits was Judson House and Perry House, because they are also historic sites, and we've had docents there, and they've been historic sites forever. So, but they happen to be nonprofits. So I think we're leaning towards making it all about the historic aspect of Stratford for this particular project. I don't know if Karen and Karen want to add in, because you were on the call with me with Marianne.
I think too, some of the natural resources that also kind of tie in with the history, like the
Oh,
lighthouse
yes.
property. Yeah.
Okay. Colin, did you have were you about to say something?
No, that's it. I mean, I was circling back, just closing the loop on some of the cost questions that you guys had. The nice thing about this QR technology that obviously translates from people from physical to digital, it's that it's a lot of them you get for free, if not a small fee, a small annual fee. So depending on what route we go, it's very easy to manipulate and use those codes at a low cost.
Okay, I think it'll be helpful for us to see the email, the PDF, Karen, if you send that out, and then that way we'll be prepared to have the vote next month, and then we can move it along from there. And we could also get a decent handle on the budget for a video, which probably already have that. But
We'll have that in place for you for the March meeting.
yeah, it'd be good to be able to vote on both of those at the same time.
Right.
Meanwhile, we have, in terms of, reviewing the budget, I see that on the new business items tonight, we have the Joint Commission's Roundtable, and then Celebrate events. So I suppose those also become part of our budget. So why don't we touch on those as well right now?
Sure. So the Joint Commission Roundtable, Karen Sportini and I were thinking April might be a good time to plan that meeting. It's past that we've got a lot going on, in the first quarter. And at that point, the chairs of the commissions, all the newer members, will have had a little, a few meetings to sink their teeth into before we have it. So we just thought that, once we're done with the commercial realtors breakfast, we can get working on the Joint Commission Roundtable. If you'd like, we can try to find a sponsor for it. The commission certainly can afford to do it. It's not that expensive. I'm thinking maybe I love that side room that used to be the Old Dog, and now it's Fish Bar de Milan. It's just a nice size room. It's a good place, I think, to hold a meeting the way we did last time. And we'll certainly ask all of you if you'd like things to change up some things, or if you thought the meeting went well last time. It was a while ago, of course. So, we were kind of thinking of having it in that same vein.
Yeah, I like the meeting. I like that venue as well. I'd be open to looking at other venues. I think May would be a better month, but
Okay.
Does anyone else have a position on either time or location that might be good?
And May is fine. Spring, we could do it in early May. That's fine.
We do that in lieu of our meeting, or do we do that in addition to our monthly
I
meeting?
think we do it in lieu of our meeting
Yeah.
because we don't want to make everybody. So, I mean, we could shoot to try to do it the Tuesday that we usually meet, which means that
Yeah.
the other committees might not be meeting. So if we want to kind of tentatively look at what the schedule is for whatever that second Tuesday in May is, let me look at my calendar. We can kind of work on that.
I'd be in favor of that. I don't know what the other commission members think.
Yeah,
So that
I
would
think waiting
be,
till May gives the other, the chairs a little more time to come up with a report that they can present to us.
I agree, because it comes quick. April comes quick. We were just trying to think we wanted to accomplish all our goals, but they can be accomplished, you know, a month or two later. So we're looking at May 10th, tentatively, okay, for everybody.
Okay, good. Does anyone have any other thoughts on location, or do we want to stick with the fish bar?
Well, what we can do, Jim, is we can, as you know, our office can kind of look at a few options for what there is. Like, you don't want a room that's really large for a
Right.
smaller group. So we'll kind of look and see what there is, and we can give you a few choices if you want. We could do that for March.
Yeah, I mean, it might be nice to move some of these meetings around and support, like, even though fish bar is new.
It's a different business, yeah.
Yeah, so we could go back there and basically support a new business. But, yeah, that sounds good. I like that idea.
The other thing we could do is we could have it at Area 2. They have
Hey,
a
there we
really
go.
nice meeting room. What?
Yeah, and it's great. It's got an outdoor deck too, so we can actually move around a little bit more freely out over there. And depending on what time it is, we can actually have a beer or two this time, unlike the breakfast.
Very interesting.
And it's not the same as the real estate breakfast because it's completely different business. So we could talk about it, but that's a nice
Let me know.
venue. They have nice meeting rooms.
Okay, great. And what about Celebrate?
So I'll start and then I'll let Karen take on. We sat down with the mayor and came up with, you know, our marketing plan, and I'll let Karen Doyle will give you kind of what how we're approaching it. And we just wanted to throw it out there to see if the commission again wanted to be a sponsor for Restaurant Week. So I'll let Karen, you know, take over here and talk about what we came up with for Celebrate sponsorships.
Last year, the commission was the top honor sponsor for Restaurant Week. That is a $5,000 commitment. Not too much has changed. The only thing that is changing is that this year we are offering businesses the option to co-sponsor events, especially for things like Restaurant Week that extend throughout a week. So the commission would still get the same perks, VIP passes to the fireworks and Blues on the Beach. And we just wanted to throw it out there to see if you would be interested in Restaurant Week or possibly one of the other Celebrate Stratford events. We think that Restaurant Week is probably the best fit for the commission just because it is supporting Stratford small businesses. If there was another event that you would be interested in, we could discuss that too, but Restaurant Week probably might be your best bet if you're interested.
And Karen, would you fill them in on our newest event?
Oh, we are bringing back the Stratford Birding Festival, which will be on September 24th. From what I understand, this was quite popular several years ago, and Phil Donahue was involved. So I don't think
Marlo came too.
And Marlo came too.
Sorry.
I don't think that Phil and Marlo will be participating this year, but we've got the wheels in motion for that as well.
When is Restaurant Week, Karen? scheduled
Restaurant
for?
Week this week runs from April 24th to the 30th.
So we need a commitment at tonight's meeting for the sponsorship for that? Or is that something we would vote on in March again?
You could vote on it in March. Again, because we're giving organizations the option to co-sponsor events, we've got a little bit more leeway.
Because I think it would be good if we could wait just to fit in all these. So we have, 3 fairly sizable budget items that
Mhm.
once we have a better idea of what all these are going to cost, then we can make a good sound vote on those issues.
Sure.
And Jim, if kind of March is the budget meeting, where we're really ironing out video, the marketing, we'll figure out if we get if we can get a sponsor for the Joint Commission Roundtable, or the commission does it, and then Restaurant Week. And after that, other than the secretarial fee, there's not going to be, and then, the budget ends June 30th. So we will have gone through all our goals, and we'll just be carrying them out, but not initiating new expenditures after that.
Right. So that's good. I think that's a good, reasonable way to just kind of make sure we're within our budget and spending the money on the most effective means. So let's do that in the March meeting.
That's why we wanted to bring it up to you this month, so you had time to kind of think about it. And Karen will send you the link and the advertisement for all the dates for Celebrate, so you all have them.
Yeah, so that did you say there might be other things we could sponsor other than Restaurant Week? I mean, should we look at that? And
Sure. There are a few others. I don't know if you want to get into it now. We do try to honor the organizations that sponsor some of the events, like Paradise Pizza always does the summer concert series and the Latin Music Festival. So we'll probably let them have first dibs at that. But things that would still be open would be the Shakespeare Market. And we're offering that as a sponsorship twice a year since it runs throughout the year. So we're doing a spring, summer top honor sponsorship for $5,000, and then a fall, winter sponsorship for an additional $5,000. Milford Bank always does the Main Street Festival. The Stratford Birding Festival, we do have a sponsor, but we'd be open to a co-sponsor. And then the holiday tree lighting and the holiday menorah, their sponsorship is up in the air right now as well.
So we tend to not really need a sponsor as much for the menorah and the holiday lighting. They're not big expenditures. And with Restaurant Week being the first event, just ensuring that we have a sponsor, because we have time, for some of the others. The fireworks, do we have a regular one for that, Karen, or?
We do.
Okay. Who's
We do.
a regular sponsor for the
IBEW.
fireworks? Oh, that's right. That's right.
well, I do think Restaurant Week makes of all of those makes the most sense for us because it's supporting all local businesses. But it's good to know what's out there so we make sure we're at least considering everything.
Restaurant Week is also a good one because we do a big push for that from a marketing perspective. We do a big campaign with Connoisseur Radio. So Stratford Economic Development Commission would be mentioned on Star 99.9, WICC and 95.9, the Fox, or is that PLR? I can't remember. But we don't do that type of push for some of the events like the fireworks and Blues on the Beach and stuff like that because they already garner such a big crowd. So being connected to Restaurant Week, I think would really get the commission's name out there for what it's worth. And last year for Restaurant Week, we initiated the Golden Fork Award, which really grew legs and became really popular. So your logo that we came up with last year would be connected to all of that as well.
Okay, that sounds good. I think we'll likely continue that, but just wanted to make sure we were considering everything.
Okay.
Karen, do you want to mention the addition to the concert series?
Sure. Just as an aside, we came up with this cute idea to offer opening acts to the summer concert series, in a hope to try to get a new crowd who typically wouldn't go to the concerts there. So we're thinking of tying in a comedy series as an opening act, maybe some local talent, but keeping it very community based. Just kids in town who can really sing, bring their friends and their families out and stuff like that. So kind of like a very cute home-timey type of thing that'll be really community centric.
Is that Paradise Green?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Great. Good idea. Okay, any other comments on those issues we were just discussing? Anyone have any old business or new business to bring up tonight?
This one's minor, just from a marketing perspective. So Discover Milford, which I don't know if it's actually connected to economic development in Milford, but they just started a campaign that just food for thought. They're doing like an I Love Local Milford campaign where they're doing a social media thing to encourage people to share their favorite hidden gems throughout Milford, which kind of may tie in nicely to the map initiative. Once we're ready to go there, it could be a nice way to kind of push the new map, but also let people show as they experience those different historical landmarks throughout Stratford. Could be another fun way to push that when we get there.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. And I don't want it to completely piggyback on Milford, but when we do the social media push and the digital push for the digital version of the map, that's exactly what we should do. And the working title of this project is Stratford Hidden Gems. But if anybody wants to think of something cooler or something that's a bit more catchy, or is Milford's literally like Milford's Hidden Gems, or is it Discover Milford?
It's Discover Milford is the overall, but this one social campaign is like I Love Local Milford, I think is what they've titled it. I'll send you a link, Karen.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, everyone should maybe think about that. Is there a name better than Stratford Hidden Gems that we can come up with, just a real catchy kind of thing? So I would encourage everyone to think about that, and because I think it could get some good PR. This is the type of project that if it really comes out well, that I think we'll get some good PR out of it. So, and it'll really do what we want to do, and that is showcase Stratford. So.
Yeah, we were kicking around like hidden treasures or some stuff like. So we have our experts, so we'll come up with something good.
All right. Anything else?
Hi, yes, I have a quick question. Can
Who's
you
that?
hear me? This is
Sort of.
Councilwoman Kimberly. Can you hear me?
You're not loud. You have to speak up.
Okay. So, can you
Okay.
hear me better now?
Yes.
I was just wondering, I'm new to the council, so I don't have a lot of knowledge, but I was just wondering in general, do we do anything around Black-owned businesses, specifically for Stratford? Do we highlight, do we showcase, do we do anything around those types of businesses and organizations in Stratford?
We generally highlight all our small businesses. So we haven't highlighted, specifically women-owned businesses or Black-owned businesses or Hispanic-owned business. We haven't highlighted a specific gender or ethnicity. We do a lot for small business in general, especially with COVID. It's just been a struggle for so many of these businesses. So we've just tried to highlight, reaching out to all of them.
Yeah, I was just thinking about. I'm so sorry. I'm getting over COVID, and I now have a stutter as a result of being hospitalized with COVID. So I require a little more patience. So I was wondering whether or not, because we now have the African American Collection Museum, and I know many people travel to Washington D.C. to those museums there, especially the newer African American Museum, to highlight that in Black-owned businesses would definitely generate movement in Stratford as well. So this is the reason why that's the reason why I asked specifically about that business and that part of Stratford, because believe it or not, it's very popular to go, and this is a great addition for our town. So I just wanted to put that out there to begin to think about how we can use that as well to get more people into the town and to discover all the beautiful things that Stratford has to do, it has to do.
So Kim, we are talking about, and we did talk about the museum, highlighting museums in general in Stratford, because I've been through that museum, and anybody that hasn't had a chance to go through it, Jeffrey Fletcher has done an unbelievable job. So we have talked about highlighting our museums because now we have several, and we actually had some conversations with that kicked off from our Strange Stratford about maybe having a support your museum day, and allowing, just trying to get people out there to visit each museum, the Connecticut Air Museum, the Jeffrey Fletcher's Museum, the Judson House, Booth, just all of them, and just getting people to support them and highlighting them and doing a support your museum day, something like that. So we did talk about that in terms of, because we have a lot now, and we have several that are walking distance from the train station. So we've definitely talked about that, and actually Booth wants to do a day where they're celebrating, I guess, the anniversary of their rose garden. And they talked about sharing that day with getting support for all our museums in Stratford. That would be in June. So we are kicking that around and seeing how we can make that work.
Just to get curious about something, you guys were speaking about the QR code. Do we have a Stratford Visitors Center? When you go to the Rose Garden up in Hartford, they have a beautiful, amazing rose garden. They have a small visitors center there. And with all of this information, do we have a QR code type of system for the museums that Stratford houses to make people aware? Do we have any sort of infrastructure like that to help the people learn about Stratford and
well, this is why Perry House was our visitor center for the longest time, and then COVID hit, and it's been really struggling to reignite in that area. But we are putting our this is why we're doing what we're doing in economic development, is trying to highlight what's out there, and so people can come to our office and get information. Because at this juncture, we don't have a formal visitor center. It would be nice to get the Perry House back to that status, because the Perry House was always known as the doorway to Stratford. So it's it's right off the exit, having it open and having information for people to come and visit.
So right now, I just want to be clear. Other than me going on and Googling and playing around, there's no sort of technology that's available that explains, here are all of your museum options. Here are all of your historic options. Like that QR code couldn't release that sort of information in that way, so that when I'm planning my trip to Stratford, I know the museums, I know the historic homes that are available, and I know the restaurants. So that's sort of a general information besides the Google. Besides using Google,
we have a lot of information on our website. On our website, we have our restaurant, we have events through that we partner with the Sterling House. So you know what? Maybe offline, Kim, so we don't take up the time for all the commission members. I'd be happy to speak to you offline and our office and let you know what's out there and what we're planning and what.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, part of this initiative that we're talking about with marketing is really, you know, it's not going to cover everything. Partially designed to make people aware of the things we're going to try to include here. So, yeah, that would be good, Mary. If you guys talk offline, and any other ideas you can bring to Colin and Karen as we try to really put this together and make it work.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other new business or old business or anything else? So if not, then just need a motion to adjourn and a second, please.
Motion.
Brian,
I'll second. Jen?
I think that was Jen seconding, and all in favor?